So NBC, obviously in the news recently with your audience platform. I think what's really interesting and what I'd love the optics from you on is kind of how that came to be and the why behind what actually occurred to make you guys, look at things differently than a lot of your counterparts.
Absolutely. So I think it probably helps to set the context of kind of how the portfolio came together in the first place. And sort of at the strategic level, thinking about the power of premium video, sight, sound, and motion. NBC Universal has the largest video sales business in the country. And putting that powerful portfolio together that already works very hard for clients, when you add data to that premium inventory, it can work that much harder. And I think sort of the putting together of the portfolio becomes even more important when you think about data. So sort of starting with the portfolio, the idea was to take, we call it a portfolio approach, to put broadcast, cable, and digital together to make it accessible for clients in sort of one place and one go-to-market approach. And we've done that, and that's critically important for today's business. As we think about going forward and we layer data on top of it to make that media work even harder, matching the right message to the right person at the right time. As you think about scale, and then you'd think about going down into a more targeted audience segment, it helps to have the full portfolio to work with. Because anytime you talk about targeting, you're sort of by definition narrowing the audience. If you can work at a portfolio level as opposed to siloed levels, you can optimize for the whole as opposed to trying to piece together a bunch of little pieces. We think that approach lends so much more power to a marketer to be able to reach the audience they're looking to reach.
So when you went about putting this together, I mean, are you bringing the digital lexicon to television? Are you having the television and digital language? I mean, how are you making that translation?
It's a merger of the worlds, which is really beneficial to be able to sit at a company that has kind of a cross-section of both. So we call it our total audience approach, that users are consuming content where they want to consume it. And a company like NBC Universal is able to put together both linear and digital content touch points and put them together into one buy for marketers. So again, as it relates to data products, I think probably the digital part of the world, this sort of data-enabled buying, in a way, is more prolific in digital. So we are probably stealing a page from that playbook, but it's not really stealing, it's applying over a broader scale.
So with this new kind of purview as to how you guys are looking at it, do you see in a year or two people not necessarily buying channels or programs, but literally just buying audiences from you in the upfront and scatter, and you just deliver on that audience?
I think context will continue to be incredibly important. We're in the content business, and we're big believers in the content business. We think that's really the bingo moment of overlaying data and audiences in the context and against the premium content that delivers so much value for advertisers today. So that is really the crossover where we think we'll start to drive higher returns on investment for marketing dollars.
And do you see yourselves tying, third-party attribution modeling from the agency side into your data, or are you making it accessible? I mean, what's the relationship look like?
I think that'll evolve, and I think it'll probably evolve somewhat differently client by client. Ultimately, the metric that matters most at the end of the day for our clients is, did they sell their product? Did they get the product moving off the shelf? And to the extent that our clients are willing to share, all the way down to their sales data, that's probably the most impactful way to work together. We'll evolve that as it goes client by client and into sort of how closely we can collaborate. But I'm sure it will evolve over time and will continue to get closer over time.
So when you talk about kind of the impetus of this, was this the advertisers and the agencies coming to you and looking to have a better story? Did you guys look at your portfolio and say, wow, like we have a better story to tell and we have to educate you guys on why? I mean, kind of, was it chicken egg, or did it happen kind of at the same time?
It's a meeting in the marketplace. It takes a buyer and a seller. Probably the buy side has been asking for it a lot longer than the sell side has been able to provide it. Not for lack of trying. It's a complicated process, and even with these new product announcements, we are in the early innings of these capabilities, and particularly of these capabilities at scale. We think that's one of the exciting things about our audience targeting platform announcement is it's over the entire scale of our national media footprint. So it is a coming together, and I think that coming together is further than it's ever been, but there's still quite a long way to go.
So one company other than your own in 2015 that you think is really interesting?
That's a great question. If I step out of my day at the office and just think more broadly, I'm actually in the process of doing some home renovations and thinking about the capabilities that have come from science fiction to real life is incredibly interesting and exciting. So looking at a Nest thermostat and not just Nest, but a lot of companies who are making internet-enabled devices to just make your life a little bit easier and a little bit more delightful. I think those are really exciting places to be. I was just at CES a few weeks ago, and to see the level of innovation and the level of experimentation, I think is really exciting in that area.